So welcome back in my Vento Aureo discussion video about Italian references. In this episode we'll be covering the 8th chapter of Vento Aureo, which is Golden Experience Strikes Back. And this one is more, let's say, involved because there's this guy that comes up, which is called Melone, which is melon, which comes up and speaks a lot in Italian. So while they're in the car, there's some signs which have a really weird font, but I don't know. And there's Cafe and Burger, which are both wrong. Cafe is written with 2 F's and an accent. And I think you know how burger is written. So like Mr. is talking about you gonna make do without China for a little bit. That's my little Mr. impression. So the thing is about in this chapter, we're starting to bleed in more Italian going on. And I think you want to make it more used to hearing Italian. There's a bellissimo, which means beautiful, and he says molto bene. The thing about him saying molto bene is that actually in the translation I'm reading they corrected it because he says di molto bene, and di molto bene does not mean anything. It's really wrong. It means like off very good, so they corrected it. Thing is, there's a company that makes gadget called di molto bene now, so it's getting more used, not in Italy, but at a certain point they talk about the Appian Way. La Via Appia is one of the famous routes to Rome, and Rome is known for having like a saying that all roads lead to Rome. So at a certain point they reference the thing I've talked about, like it's a power to create life, and that's the power of Golden Experience. He uses the ladybug to create life. That's the visual metaphor to make you understand it if you know the ladybug thing, but if you don't know it, it's just alright. So about the photo that Pericolo makes them see, that's the station of Santa Lucia in Venice. Thing is, like, it's kind of a lie because that statue is in Piazza San Marco. Yeah, they're not in the same place. In the actual plaza there's a statue of Virgin Mary, which is kind of relevant to something else. When they're talking about like Guido Mista's backstory, it comes back that thing about him like living like a honest material life, and that's his lifestyle. And then there's like sort of this like Pulp Fiction reference thingy where he just walks around and he doesn't get shot. Yeah, there's a thing about then going to Venezia with a train and not by car. So the reason why they didn't go by car in the first place is because Venezia is not a nice place to be reaching by car. It's like one of the worst actually, because Venezia is not traversable by car, and if you want to drive to it you have to leave it in the parking that costs a lot for a lot of time. It gets hot and everything, and the road is always cramped. So if you get by train there you get real fast and there's no problem. Also, there's a thing, if you go by a car, you have to get like a ferry to get on the island, because Venezia is kind of on an island. If you go by train, you just get there. It's really, really more comfortable to go there by train. So that's my reading on volume 8 of Vento Aureo, Golden Experience Strikes Back. I hope you like this one, and my advice is to go in Venice. If you've got questions or anything, or if you want to tell me about something I missed, or something that might have sound confusing, because sometimes I speak like I'm drunk or like I'm very pretentious. That's not my 2 English modes. But yeah, hope you liked it. Bye.